Hi, this is Geoff Tate, and you're listening to Metal from the Inside.
You've tuned in to the most crazy rocking metal podcast on the air. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Metal from the Inside.
Back, everybody, to the Metal from the Inside podcast, and I'm here this week with a very special guest, one of my very favorite hard rock and heavy metal vocalists who needs no introduction, Mr. Geoff Tate, of course, formerly of Queensrÿche, now with Sweet Oblivion, his own solo project over the years, and so much more. He's done so much over the course of his career, so thank you so much for taking the time to join me on this week's episode, Geoff.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah, so it's funny because, and I'm sure you've probably heard this from many people as this year has kind of progressed, but you were the last show that I went to before the world shut down back at the end of February in Philly. You were like right there in February before, the world changed forever. But just how have you been? I always like to start out my interviews just asking, kind of how everybody has been just kind of during the last year. I know, of course, you had to kind of come off that tour about a year ago already. And I know you've stayed busy, though. We're going to get into the new record that you have coming out in about a month. But, just how has the last year been for you and kind of staying sane and, having a lot of time at home?
Yeah. Well, our tour ended right around February, March last year. And we were touring in the United States at the time and watching the cities shut down behind us as we left town. Everything started, kind of a domino effect, really. So all of our touring really got postponed till this year now. And so on the bright side, even though it's been a long time at home, the touring is beginning again for me, at least in August. And right now I'm booked up to Christmas of 2023. So I'm going to be very busy, which is good. I like that. I like to work. But in the meantime, I completed the Sweet Oblivion album when I was in Ireland over the summer. And I've got a couple other projects in the works right now and just writing in the studio every day, which is great for me. I love being home anyway. In fact, this is the first time I've been home for any length of time. And I don't know how many years, like 2019, I think I was home 24 days.
Wow.
So, yeah, so this is really long for me. And I've gotten to where I really love waking up in my own bed, It's great.
Yeah, which, I can imagine. You've been, again, touring since the early 80s, even before then, you know what I mean? It's like to have a year at home, or, you've done, like you said, you've done a couple things. And I know you've done a couple shows here and there, kind of socially distant stuff here and there, this kind of past year and the end of last year and everything like that. But yeah, I guess to have a big period of time at home must be kind of a nice change for you.
It's a lovely change. In fact, it took me several months just to get into it and the swing of it. I'm not used to being in one place for very long. And I've had a few moments where, I wanted to get out of the house and, kind of get away. But overall, I like being home. I find it very productive to be in one place. And I get in a lot of studio work done, I'll tell you that. Boy, I've nothing holding me back, I got no excuses like, it's, I have a show to do in 3 hours. I don't have that excuse. So.
Right. It allows you to get stuff done. But you
Really?
mentioned you're doing this Sweet Oblivion record, which is coming out in about a month, and it's titled Relentless. And it's a great record. I've had the chance to listen to it in advance, and I absolutely love it. And this is the second record. The first one was released back in 2019. So tell me a little bit about just the process of working on this record, because if I'm correct, you guys did it all kind of virtually or kind of over like the internet file sharing, right?
Yeah, exactly. Which I think is a wonderful way to work. It's very efficient, and you can work in your home studio or in the the environment that you choose, and pretty much all the the dialogue back and forth you do over email, Zoom, or the phone. So it's you're focused on the music more or less, rather than just kind of spending hours wasting time telling stories, that kind of thing. You're really focused on the production, and that was very similar with this project. I was in Ireland at the time, and my wife and I were living in this little cottage up on the hill overlooking the ocean, and it was very, very creative there. Ireland is a great place to be anyway. It's a magical kind of place, and just to wake up there every day and to work on this record in that kind of environment was really special. It'll always be very special to my heart. I think that that time spent, but the record's been finished. I think since September. I think it has been. That's when I finished all my parts and everything. So I'm anxious to hear it when it comes out. I haven't heard the whole thing done yet, so I'm excited.
Ooh, yeah. And the new video just came out today as well for the single Another Change. Did you film that when you were in Ireland too? Because I know that
No.
that's... No? Okay.
No, I filmed that in the Seattle area.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a great single, and the video just came out on Frontiers. So if you guys are watching, be sure to go ahead and check that out. But you've worked with Frontiers now. Again, this is a second record with Sweet Oblivion. You've done records with Frontiers on your own, kind of your own records. You did the kind of like that trilogy. The last one was released back in 2017. But you've done a bunch of stuff with Frontiers. And what is it like to work with them? Because I mean, they're kind of a really great label. So many different, new acts, kind of legacy acts on the label. So what is it like to work with that team at Frontiers?
Well, they're very passionate about music, and they're very passionate about what they do, which I respect greatly. We clash a lot, but I like that. I like that they just don't say do whatever. They question everything that you do, and they have some really they have ways of doing things that I would consider questionable, but somehow we make it work, and it's a good alliance, and that the passion that they have for what they do is it's very respectable. And I like what they've done with the Sweet Oblivion records, the way they put the whole thing together and matched different artists working together. I think that's a really interesting way of working, and I'm looking forward to the next project they present me. I don't know who that's going to be with, but I'm anxious to see.
Yeah, because they were the ones that kind of came to you about like putting together Sweet Oblivion, right? It was them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I had said to them after my run with them with the trilogy album, I said, I'm very interested in working with different people. So if you come across anybody that you think might match up well with me, please do it, and let's see if we can make something happen. And so they've come to me with both the Sweet Oblivion projects, and they're different people on each record, so it's great to be able to collaborate with different people and different ideas. I really welcome collaborating with different people and working with different people and hearing their perspective about music.
Yeah. And I was going to say, I mean, you obviously had the band dynamic for a bunch of years when you were in Queensrÿche. And I mean, you have your own band that you go out and tour with, of course, but is it different for you? You kind of just said it's nice to collaborate with other people, but is it different for you to kind of have just constantly working with different people instead of having it be the same kind of band dynamic that you had for so long? You guys, of course, had chemistry when you were writing together in Queensrÿche and all those classic records. But, did it bring you something new creatively when you kind of branched out and every record kind of, working with different musicians? Yeah,
it definitely brings out something different in you, and you have to kind of come at the situation with an open mind, because of course they're not walking in your shoes and you're not walking in theirs, and you're coming at music from two different places oftentimes. But I like that that clash of ideas, and then working them out and coming to some sort of understanding together. I think it's a bit like diplomacy, in a way, and I enjoy it. I really do.
Yeah. And like I said, the Sweet Oblivion record is coming out. And, from the first record and from this record, even just kind of the reception on the single and the video came out today. I know that you get a lot when it comes to this project, that it's very similar. The overall sound and the overall style is very similar to that of classic Queensrÿche record, and kind of the style that you were a part of for so many years when you were kind of getting into this industry. Does that ever, I guess, bother you, the constant kind of comparison to what you did prior, or is it something that you find that you embrace? Because I know that's always, something that goes around in fans' mind, Queensrÿche, how does it hold up against the Queensrÿche records and everything? But how does that feel for you to hear that about, the projects that you're doing now?
Well, I suppose it would probably bother me if I really paid attention. I don't. So I don't
fair.
know. Yeah. Music is something that I need to do. It's something that I need to be part of. And so I feel just very blessed that I'm given these opportunities to work with different musicians and to be part of creating an interesting musical presentation. And I'm equally grateful for anybody's interest in it, because there's a lot to choose from. There's a lot to listen to, and years go by, and people change their tastes in music, and they grow up, or they look for new things. And I'm just very happy that people are interested in what I'm doing.
Right. And I mean, you've also never really kind of shied away from, performing the Queensrÿche songs and, kind of having that part of your legacy stay alive with you. I mean, you're doing this whole tour that, again, was the last show that I ever saw. It was you doing Rage for Order and Empire, and then you're continuing that, right? You just released a new date. So I know you've never really shied away from, doing those Queensrÿche classics and, kind of keeping that alive with you. And I mean, I know that, obviously when that split did happen originally, that there was, a lot of tension, a lot of things happening around that. But, as the years have gone on, I know you were kind of quoted as saying that like Todd LaTorre is, a fantastic vocalist and everything. And I feel like your tone has kind of changed on a lot of those subjects. I mean, for you, and did you ever, I guess, have a little bit of resentment to that period of your career and kind of maybe not want to perform those songs and have that kind of be something that
No.
did?
I've always embraced playing my music, my songs. I can't imagine not playing those songs in a live, situation. And I don't really have resentment or negative feelings about Queensrÿche. To me, it was an amazing time. We accomplished a lot of things. We wrote some incredible music and had some amazing tours. I think we've definitely left our mark in the metal world. But then again, times change and people move on and do different things, and that's what I'm doing.
And you've also done some really great stuff I want to talk about with Avantasia over the last couple of years, which is this really great kind of unique metal band. You've done a lot of different stuff with them, with their record in 2017, the record in 2019. How did you get involved with that project? Because I know it's a bunch of different vocalists, they kind of have a bunch of different collaborators, but, how did you first get started with Avantasia?
Tobias Sammet asked me. I had never heard of him or his project. Up until I think 2017 or something like that, when I did the album with them.
Right.
I had never heard of him before. And apparently he had been talking to my management about involving me in the project before that, but I had never heard of it. And so finally my manager played me some of the music. And I thought, oh, well, this is interesting. I like this. What is this? Who is this? And then I got the whole story. Then I actually talked to Tobias about music, and we got along very well. And it's just started the ball rolling, really. We just spent quite a long time, quite a few years now, working together on his albums. And then I toured with them on their world tour last year, which was really fun, but very, very taxing. Probably one of the toughest tours I've ever done. And it was only exhausting and tough because the Germans, they drink to an excessive amount, by my standards. I had a hard time keeping up with them. So I told Tobias that if I was going to tour with them again, I would need at least 6 months of training before I tried that again.
Gotta prepare.
Yeah, really, because man, the expectations are high. to keep up with everybody. I didn't want to let my country down, being one of the few Americans on the tour,
And is there anything in the works with Avantasia right now? Another record that you might be featured on, or are they kind of taking things slow, kind of in the midst of the pandemic?
I think that there's an album in the works right now. I've been hearing little snippets of rumor that way. I haven't been approached as of yet to contribute to it, but that's very typical for Tobias to be to call me up frantic, going, "Okay, can you sing on the record? I've written you a song." Yeah, okay. Well, send it to me. See what it's all about. He's one of. I'm so impressed by him. He handled himself so well on that world tour. It's very, very tough music to sing. It's high level of performance, and every night he just nailed it. And it's extreme gymnastics, with your voice. And he's not like a big, powerful man at all. He's very slight and small, but he just has such a big spirit, And I remember there's this one point in the show, in the first song that on the show, where all of us singers were gathered backstage and we're listening to Tobias sing, and he has to hit this incredibly high note. We call it the dog note because only dogs can hear it, right? It's so high, and that would be the telltale. And there was a little bit of a betting pool going on if he would make the note every night, and he always made it. He never missed it. He didn't hold back. He hit it right off the bat on the first song every night, and that was what we all had to live up to every night, was his commitment to putting on the best possible show you could put on, and all of us fell into line and tried to do the same thing and follow in his footsteps. He's very charismatic as a leader personality, and it was good for me to be in that position with him. I think I learned a lot from him, even though he's younger than me, and I've had a heck of a lot of experience. I learned a lot from him.
Yeah, I mean, it must be nice to be in a situation like that where, I mean, like you just mentioned, it was motivating you guys to be like, oh,
Yeah.
if he's hitting that note, I got to step my game up or whatever, in the next performance.
Yeah.
So it must be nice to be in like that dynamic of, pushing each other to be even better performers, night after night.
It was a very different dynamic for me to be part of, because I've never looked at music as a sporting event. But apparently people do that, and they look at it that way. And I definitely found myself as a member of the team, performing, It's so very different for me, but I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah. And I love those albums too, because they're not, they're very in the realm of what you do, but in a way also, kind of different. It's obviously more operatic and a little bit different than, the normal hard rock. So I guess for you, that also must be interesting to kind of still stay in the realm of which you have worked for many, many years, but to also do something a little bit different,
Yes. And I like doing things different, and I like being part of different scenarios. And I'm very honored to be part of that Avantasia family.
Yeah. Something that I thought was so interesting that a lot of people I feel like don't know about is you do have your own wine that, you've been making wine for many, many years, and you have your own wine brand and everything like that, which is so amazing. Can you just tell us a little bit about that journey and what it's been like to like have your own wine? Because I feel like a lot of people don't really know that, Geoff Tate is a winemaker, and he has been for so many years, since you were very young, if I'm correct.
Well, my first official professional wine came out in 2007. That was my first, what I'll call my first vintage. I experimented a lot previously on my own, but 2007 is when I got really serious and released Insania is the wine brand, and we make a red and a white. And they are made in Germany, in the Alsace region, kind of southern Germany, northeastern France, right on the border there. Beautiful, beautiful area. And it's a Pinot Noir red grape, and Pinot Grigio is the white. And yeah, it's been a journey, it really has. It's a lot like making music. You're taking notes and blending them together to form a melody or a chord. And the same with the grapes. You're taking these different grapes and you're blending them together to form some sort of interesting tasting and smelling, beverage. And I love it. I absolutely love it. I think if I retire at some point, I'd like to spend more time in the vineyard and actually work more with the farming aspect of it, because that's, to me, that's where the wine is really made, is in the ground. It's where the grapes are grown. But this part of southern Germany is very special. It's this area that I was born in. My wife's family is from that area as well, so it's kind of a family thing.
And I mean, you used to, when you would tour, for many years, right? When you go to different wineries and different vineyards when you were around touring, I mean, for you that must be so cool. You had the opportunity to try so many different wines from so many different countries and places and states, and that must also have helped in kind of creating your own blend and what you wanted out of that.
True. Yeah, true. You taste a lot of different things. Traveling around, being in different parts of the world, different areas that specialize in grape growing and winemaking. But just about every area in the middle latitudes has a wine region. It's pretty interesting. Even New York State, upper New York State has a wine region, which you wouldn't think that anything good would come from that area in the ground, but because it's so cold, But right. they do nice white wines up there. But yeah, it's a journey, like you said, and one that I love.
Yeah. And like I said, I wanted to ask you about that because I feel like too many people don't know that that's something that you do on the side and outside of just music. So be sure to pick up a bottle of Geoff's awesome red and white wine. It's available, I'm pretty sure, on your website and everything like that. And I won't keep you too much longer, but at the end of every single one of my interviews, I ask kind of like the same 5 questions, or kind of just to have my guests get to know a little bit more about, or my audience get to know a little bit more about my guests. So the first question is, if you weren't working in the profession that you're currently in, so vocalist, songwriter, musician, what do you think that you would be doing?
Oh, I'd be making wine.
Right.
Yeah.
You'd be making wine. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
and you are doing that. So
yeah, dream
achieved.
You see, I'm kind of leaning in that direction, more and more.
The second question is, what is something that you wish everybody knew about you? Whether that's like a secret talent that you have that a lot of people might not know about, or a guilty pleasure musician that you listen to, anything like that.
Gosh, I don't know what that would be. Okay. Maybe some people would find this interesting, but I hardly ever listen to music.
Wow.
Yeah. Just my own.
Do you think it helps you creatively to not hear what other people are doing sometimes?
No, it's strictly one reason and one reason only. I'm an unbearable snob. I like the quiet. I like to think my own thoughts. I don't watch TV. I don't listen to music. I write a lot.
Yeah. The third question is, if you were stranded on a desert island and you only had 3 records to bring with you to listen to, what do you think they would be?
That's the last thing I would grab, was a record. Yeah. I have music playing in my head all the time.
Right.
So I don't really need that. I would probably want something like, I like food. I like cooking, and I probably want to grab like a good quality cooking pan, so I would be able to make things, if I was stranded on a desert island.
I know, right?
But then again, I don't know what there is to eat on a desert island. I guess coconuts or something like that. Maybe, I don't know.
Might be able to like spear a fish or something, you could.
Yeah, I probably want a very big sharp knife with me.
The fourth question is, what is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self if you could?
Wow. Probably follow your heart, and follow your own muse, and stick to your path without getting derailed by other people. And
the last question I have for you is, if you could have one superpower, it's more of a fun question. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
Oh, the power of invisibility.
Yes, that is a good one.
I think that'd be very helpful in a lot of situations,
Yeah, well, this was so great. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your afternoon to come on the podcast. Again, everybody, the Sweet Oblivion record, Relentless, is out on April 9th through Frontiers Records. Thank you so much. It was such an honor to have you.
My pleasure, Sydney. Good talking to you. Good seeing you again. And thank you for the interview. I appreciate it.